Radha Stirling, who is the founder and CEO of the group detained in Dubai, which specialises in...
Hello and welcome to the Interpol Red Notice Podcast. I'm Radha Stirling, and today I bring some good news. I spoke to a British woman last week who was absolutely overcome in tears. Let's just listen to her now. So I have good news for you.
Oh, good. Go for it.
So, yes, we finally got word back from Interpol. You've been deleted from the database, and I have the certificates and everything, so I'll send them on email a little later today. And that's it. Done and dusted.
Thank you.
A good news Sunday, isn't it?
That's really helped. Thank you.
Oh, are you going to celebrate tonight?
I think so, yes. I think so. You must hear this all the time.
Yes. Oh, goodness.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to bring the good news.
Yeah, you did, and it's quite a really good time. Thank you.
Excellent.
When I get myself together, I'll message you.
And you'll have to think about your travel plans.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Oh, no.
Thanks for letting me know.
My pleasure.
That's brilliant.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much. Okay.
All right. She'd been charged in Qatar for non-payment of a debt, which she'd already arranged with her employer and the bank, Qatar National Bank, that the employer would discharge the debt. She heard nothing more from the bank until she was arrested in Pisa, Italy, and informed by Italian authorities that it was due to a financial dispute in Qatar. Fortunately, this is not the first time that Italy has actually detained someone for a Qatar National Bank debt, so they were quite well versed with this sort of abuse. They released her, and she was able to travel back to the United Kingdom, but unfortunately, that doesn't in itself result in the removal of the warrant. So I asked her to stay in England and not travel through the duration that it would take for me to remove her name from Interpol's database. I explained to Interpol in my submissions, which were lengthy, that my client had already suffered detention and legal proceedings in Italy due to her Interpol listing. She'd suffered significant emotional hardship, both on the job in Qatar due to bullying and harassment, as well as from her abrupt dismissal in a breach of her employment contract. She made every attempt to resolve her outstanding debt for which her employer is legally responsible. And she'd been informed by Qatar National Bank representatives that it would be resolved without anything further required from her. But Interpol is increasingly being abused by Gulf states such as Qatar and the UAE, even where they know the notices will not ultimately stand, which is precisely what occurred in this case. Qatar applies minimal checks and balances when listing a party, which has left Interpol's databases open to abuse by individuals and institutions. My client was extremely distressed after being arrested in Italy. Her life had been put on hold, and it was drastically affected her mental health as well as her financial and employment situation. She had been desperate to travel for work and had no idea if she could possibly be arrested again or potentially even extradited. We've previously had a British national pulled from his car in Cornwall over a Qatar bank debt. Banks in the Middle East have been using Interpol as a mechanism for debt collection for years, but the risk is especially heightened since Qatar's large donations in 2018. Expats and tourists who have worked in or visited Qatar must remain vigilant. Qatar's abuse of Interpol has led to unprecedented arrests of innocent victims during their travels in Europe and further afield, and many of these victims have spent months in prison while fighting extradition. If you suspect you may be at risk of an Interpol Red Notice, please contact us for confidential expert advice. And then have a look into the cases of Connor Howard, a tourist who had transited through Qatar from Australia to Scotland. He was subsequently placed on Interpol's database for carrying what was it was a herb grinder, actually, a novelty unused herb grinder, but they deemed to be a marijuana grinder and they put him on Interpol for that, despite having released him when he was actually transiting through. That resulted in his months' detention in Greece. We've also had other people detained in Prague, in Mallorca, Italy multiple times, and various other countries in Europe and Asia. So please take it seriously, contact us, and we will try to help you. But anyway, wonderful news. It's always good to see someone deleted from the Interpol Red Notice database.